Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Northwest Craftsman. Today I am excited to present you guys with my new, it's still in its package, Dado set. I am so excited to have this thing around the shop. Dado sets make things so much easier in a variety of different topics, and it just opens up possibilities to use your table saws for a variety of things. Now, one of the things that you should know about a dado set is that they can be dangerous, like everything, when not used properly. So make sure that you're following all the proper instructions that come with your dado set and just being safe in general. The other thing is that you will probably need a new throat plate for your table saw. I just made another one. Go ahead and check it out. I think it's here. And yeah, go ahead and check that guy out so you can make your own custom throat plate. And if you can't, if you don't want to do that, you can also probably order one. But for me, all of mine were out of stock and have been out of stock for months. So at any rate, dado sets. Let's get started. So you can commonly find dado sets in either 6-inch dado sets in either 6-inch or 8-inch sets. I decided to get an 8-inch set because it allows me to do just a little bit more depth on the different pieces. The other thing to keep in mind is what is your overall depth capacity. This one can go from 1/4 inch all the way up to 13/16 of an inch, which is just over 3/4 of an inch, which is perfect if you're trying to get something for 3/4 inch plywood or shelves that need to be 3/4 of an inch. These guys are going to be great. So let's go over the major components of what you should find in your dado set. Okay, so we have both sets right here, or all the different components that you're going to need. So you're going to have 2 edging blades that sit on the front or on both of the edges. You need to use these in tandem because it's going to produce a sharp edge on one side. So sharp edge on one side, sharp edge on the other. And then you're also going to get chippers that come with them. So the cheaper ones are only going to have a set of 2-sided chippers in one go, and the more expensive ones you'll actually get full-blown round. So you may get four legs on it. Just depends on the type of set you're going to get. This was a nice-ish Freud set that you could get, kind of a middle of the line, and so you end up getting all the capacity you need. It's Freud, so I really trusted that they were going to do a good job with it, even though that these guys are just the 2-sided pieces. But essentially, when your edging blades go through, they're going to slice up the edge, and then the chippers come through in the middle and just chip out all the chunks. These are flat on top. Actually, let me just show you guys what these look like. Oh, that was pretty nice. They actually are separate to each other on either side so that they don't just flop down. Okay, so on the chippers themselves, they have a flat blade, and actually, I don't know if you guys can see that, but they've got a flat blade, and the reason you do that is because you want to get a nice, even, flat surface as you're going through on your dados, whereas on your, put this guy away real fast. Whereas on the edging blades, what you're going to end up getting is, it has an angle on it, so that point is going to go towards the outside of the stack itself. And one of the things that I had heard, and I'll read the directions on this, is that your label should always go on the outside. So that means that this guy would end up being on what would be the right side of the table saw itself. But so these guys have angles, and actually I'm noticing that they have flats as well. So angles and flats so that you can get a good, sharp, crisp corner. And everything that I was researching was saying that the angled portions of these guys are actually going to go a hair further up into your workpiece than the chippers will, or the flats will, so that you get a good, sharp, crisp corner and so that everything fits together smoothly. But let's go ahead and get everything out and get something mounted. Okay, so one of the things that Freud provided, which is really handy, is a combination chart so that you can see what combination of blades, chippers, and shims you're going to need to hit your different size widths, or your different widths that you're going to need. So in this case, I'm going to try and make a 1/2-inch shelf, which means, or a 1/2-inch slot, so that I can fit my 1/2-inch plywood in there. And so that means I'm going to be using both of the outside blades and then 2 of the chippers themselves with no spacers at all. So I'm going to go ahead and get that guy set up. One of the things to note is that if you are using spacers, your spacers can only go between the outside blades, which makes sense because you're trying to space them out to get slightly wider. And then the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to initialize our throat plate right here, because this is, I mean, obviously there's nothing going through here, so it is brand new. So we're going to go ahead and put it together just on the 1/2-inch, and then anytime that I need to go up from the 1/2-inch that I have, I'll go ahead and follow the same initialization process. Basically, I want to try and keep this as narrow as possible, as long as possible, so that I get more of a zero clearance insert as I'm working with it. Eventually, I'll go all the way up to probably the full width, and then it just means that there's going to be a little bit of an opening here. But with a dado stack, you shouldn't really be doing thin, narrow slicing cuts where you have a risk of something falling into the gaps that are on either side of the blade, because you're really trying to get channels cut with the dado stack. But anyways, let's go ahead and get this guy's initialized first, and then we're gonna go ahead and set up these and then get our shelf cut. Alrighty, first step, whenever you're doing work with the blade, go ahead and make sure that everything is unplugged, and I like to drape it over the top there so that I can see that it is unplugged. Next up, you're gonna go ahead and remove your blade that you have installed right now. If you've got nothing in there, then you can just skip this step. Okay, wasn't fully thinking through that, because in order to get my throat plate initialized, I need to install it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start by installing the dado stack, and then we'll get going. Okay, so you need to make sure to follow the directions for your individual dado stack, but if you get this same dado stack, basically they do have a left side and a right side, even though it's just the labels facing outwards, because, well, your table saw spins a specific direction, and if you put this label on this side, then you're not actually gonna get anything cut. So pay attention to which side is actually installed. Your labels should go on the outside, and make sure that your blades are having their cutting action rotating towards you. When you're putting the chippers in, what I was looking at, or what Freud told us to do, is to put them at 90 degrees to each other. So I've got one here, rotate it, and then another one here. So they're at 90 degrees to each other, and then they said make sure that you just have your teeth alternating from each other. Some other dado stacks will solve this problem by putting spacers in by default to make sure that everything is spaced out and that none of your teeth can touch each other. But in this particular dado stack, they just have you align it in a way that your teeth cannot touch each other. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish that alignment and get everything tightened down. And as a note, don't tighten anything down too much. You want it to be snug, but you don't want to wrench on the thing. So, okay, we'll get that guy alternated, make sure that all their teeth spacing looks good, and then get that guy tightened down. Okay, and then trying to get a good view of this so that so that you guys can see what's going on. So we've got our two outside blades that are in here, so here, and then inside we've got a chipper. Now, I basically just looked at each one of the areas where there was a chipper blade and made sure that each one of the teeth were spaced out evenly in those slots. Here they look a little bit off. Well, they're just barely offset of each other, but that means they won't touch either. And then you get back to another chipper section, same thing happens. You get pretty even spacing all the way through there. And then I tightened it down on your table saw. Don't ever just grab onto the blade when you're doing it. Check for one of these guys over here. In this case, for me, it locks it. So this locks the blade so that it can't rotate while I'm doing it. That way it is holding the blade rather than my hands holding the blade. Okay, next up I'm going to clear the entire table off right here, because what I'm going to do is, before we install the throat plate and go through the whole throat plate initialization, I want to do a catastrophic check before I turn this thing on while it's inside of this. And I'm basically going to stand off to the side, flip it on, flip it off, and just make sure that when everything spins up, everything is good. That's a general practice that I like to follow when I'm booting something back up, because, well, there's a lot of stuff that could potentially go wrong. And if something's going to go wrong, it's on initial startup that it's going to happen. So I'm going to clear this all off, give it a quick test start, and then once that's done, we'll reinstall the throat plate and initialize it. Okay, so with everything all plugged in, I'm going to go ahead and put my hearing protection and eye protection on, and then go ahead and give this guy a quick test start. Okay, everything looks good. So in order to initialize this, what we're going to do is we're going to install the throat plate back on, lower the blade all the way down, install the throat plate back on, and then what we're going to do is clamp a 2x4 all the way across the top here, or just any other scrap piece of lumber. Basically what we want to do is provide support to the top of this so that when we turn it on and then slowly start raising the dado stack through that throat plate, it has support on the back side so it doesn't start chipping off and splintering off the front side. Okay, and then doing a quick check to see how far it actually made it in. And it didn't even make it through. Time to do it again. Okay, we got a little bit of penetration, but I think I'm going to need just a little bit more than that. I'll go ahead and do it just a teeny tiny bit further. And there we go. So that is how you go ahead and initialize your dado stack or your new throat plate with the dado stack that you have installed. And every time that you go up either in width or in depth, you're going to want to make sure that you do that same sort of support method so that you don't have this come flying out. You have your throat plate come flying out on you. Also, I'm not sure how well this is coming through, but this is actually a great visualization for what the dado stack is doing. If you see that little tiny vampire tooth over there and there with a flat section across the center, your edging blades are doing that profile on those two sides with a flat section in the middle, and those edge profiles that are just a hair deeper give you that nice sharp corner as you're going down the edge and across. So that's why you need to make sure that you install those in the correct order, because those edging blades give you that really nice sharp corner. Alrighty, I'm going to do a really quick and easy test on this scrap piece of lumber, and basically what I'm going to do is just run that 1/2 inch channel through and see if the plywood fits or how it fits, just to simulate me doing an actual dado joint. There will be a future video where I'm specifically doing a dado joint and how to set that up, but right now we're just going to try and do a quick test of the stack. There we go, like a glove. And for a shelf with a little bit of glue, that would be absolutely perfect. Sweet. Well guys, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments about how to set up this dado stack or how to set up your dado stack, go ahead and put it in the comment section down below. This is my first dado stack, and so I'm still learning. So if you're seeing something or you have a really great tip, I would also love to see that in the comment section down below. I'm learning with you guys as I'm doing this, and I'm really excited to have this new capability in my shop. So would absolutely love to have you guys around asking questions. And if you guys like the kind of videos we're producing here at Northwest Craftsman, would absolutely love a thumbs up on this video. And if you think that we have earned your subscription, we would love it if you would subscribe to the channel. I love seeing our community grow, and it's really exciting to see all the questions, all the answers, and all the stuff that's going on in the channel. So look forward to seeing you around, and we'll see you next time. Happy woodworking.